God needs you just to be a little bit more patient, brother. The reason that you are so impatient is because you want instant gratification. You want your life to happen now. You want to be successful now. And of course, who doesn't want to be successful now? But there is value in trusting that process, right? God gives us each timelines, right? You know, back in middle school and elementary school where you wrote down the timelines, you took down the many historical events from whatever the case may be, maybe United States history, Texas history. You see the crazy thing about this is history sometimes repeats itself, right? But history has a timeline. Your life has a timeline, right? There are different events and moments in your life on specific dates that are part of your timeline. And God designed our timeline on his own timing, right? Patience is it's like a lost thing these days because social media, right? Dopamine, right? We want things like this. We want instant gratification. Even in our relationships, we want instant gratification. We want things to happen now. We want to be happy now. We want to be successful now. But that's just not the case. In the Bible, in Psalm chapter 37 and verse 7, it says, "Be still in the presence of the Lord and wait patiently for him to act. Don't worry about evil people who prosper or fret about their wicked schemes. Be still in the presence of the Lord." Be still. When you think about that phrase, what comes to mind? I know what comes to mind for me is to be patient, right? To be calm because God is taking care of it, right? To not be, anxious about anything. When the Bible talks about don't be anxious about tomorrow because tomorrow is taken care of, God already has taken care of your future. You just have to make the right decisions. You just have to choose God over yourself. You just have to go down the right path. And oftentimes we get caught wanting to do what we want to do. And so let's think about it. I've probably talked about this many times. Abraham and Sarah wanted to do what they wanted to do, right? Abraham and Sarah, who was older, wanted to bear a child, couldn't bear children by herself, right? They wanted to do what they wanted to do, right? The Lord told them, be patient. The Lord told them to be patient. Abraham and Sarah were patient for a little while, but they didn't trust the plan. They didn't trust the process. As a matter of fact, they tried to uphold that process. They tried to do what they desired to do and what they wanted to do. And when you choose what you want to do over what God wants you to do, you will not be blessed, right? Satan is going to eat that up, bro. Satan is going to eat that up. When you go in the direction you want to go, instead of listening to God, Satan is going to take advantage of you because there is going to be something that goes wrong. Satan is going to also try to distance you from God even more because you not choosing God is like choosing an idol, right? You're choosing yourself. You're making yourself ahead of God. You're choosing what you want to do. We will all fall short of the glory of God, but you want to choose what you want to do. You say you love God, but you want to do what you want to do. You said you want to learn patience with God, but you want to do what you want to do. You said, oh, how can I get closer to God? You do what you want to do, but you don't listen to God. You don't talk to God. You don't honor God. There is a difference between saying I love God and actually acting out in that love. When the Bible talks about, if you love me, keep my commandments, right? John 14:15. When it talks about if you love me, keep my commandments. Do what he tells you to do. It's so simple. But oftentimes, then there's us, our prideful ways, our foolish ways, as it describes in Proverbs, gets in our way. When godly wisdom should be what we're trying to go after in everything we do. Patience comes with godly wisdom. Discernment comes with godly wisdom. A lot of people in my comment section are saying, I feel like I fell off with God, right? Do you know why you fell off with God? It's because you do not do what he says. You don't listen to him. And listening and comprehension are important. That's something, it should be fundamental, but it's not fundamental. It is not common. You have to learn to allow the information to process in your mind. And then you take that information, then you apply it to your life, right? Cause and effect. You take information, you put it to use. Remember in school when they told you, you You go get your degree or whatever, right? You learn these things for your degree, but then you don't use your degree. What was the point of going after the degree if you can't go after the career you want from that degree? Oh, you're just going to school to waste money and then you're going to end up doing something else. I'm not saying that's bad, but you wasted a bunch of money and you go get your degree, and your degree is for something, let's say like engineering or something, and you just don't use it. Patience, brother. Patience. How you truly learn patience with God is you have to have faith in him. You have to have faith. You can't put your trust in the world, bro. The world has its own timing. The world has its own agenda. The world has its own beliefs. And the world seeks instant gratification. And without patience with God, you will be deficient in your faith. You have to have trust. You have to trust God. But then you have to trust yourself as well. Because if you don't trust yourself to make a decision from God, then you're not going to make the decision. I never forget, one of my boys was talking to me the other day, and he brought up the fact that God was telling him that this specific girl wasn't for him. And I was telling him, I was like, have you talked to God about it? He was like, yeah. And what I told him was, well, if you talk to him about it, keep talking to him about it, right? Keep asking God for clarity. And so he kept doing it. He kept doing it. And God gave him the signal. God gave him the signal that this girl wasn't for him. But then he wanted to do what he wanted to do. I'm not talking about anybody specific if you're watching this video, but he wanted to do what he wanted to do. And he let it go on longer than it should have been. And because he wanted instant gratification, because he didn't want to be patient for the right one, he ended up doing something he didn't want. He ended up regretting. And that is an example of not listening to God and not trusting God and not having full faith in God and desiring God's heart, right? Doing what he wants you to do for your life, right? Just as, let's think of a guy like Moses, right? Who had to wait so long to lead his people out of Egypt from Pharaoh. He had to wait so long. I'm pretty sure it talked about 40 years, I believe. And that's ridiculous. Moses had to be patient, though. If you really think about it, Moses had to be patient. Because though he kept talking to the Lord kept throwing different plagues at Pharaoh's kingdom. Pharaoh was not giving in. But the Lord knew when Pharaoh was going to give in. Keep hitting him with the plagues. Keep hitting him with the plagues. But then Moses was able to part that Red Sea and lead his people to freedom. What am I trying to tell you, bro? You have to continue to be patient because your time is coming, bro. Continue to be patient, bro, because God will not leave you. God has a plan. God has a purpose for you. Do not ever think that you don't have purpose, because this world will constantly make you feel like you have no purpose. Instant gratification will make you feel like you won't have purpose because you don't see success right now. The world will make you feel like you need instant gratification right now. And that's just not the case. I'm going to leave you with this point. Patience from God is truly having faith that regardless if it goes good or bad, that you stick to your guns. I'm speaking in a different sense, but that you stick to his word, that you stick to God. And don't you ever put your trust in man over God. Don't ever do that. Because then, number one, you're not going to listen to God. Number two, you're going to start doing what you want to do. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. Hope you could take this video and apply it to your life. Join the Discord, link in the description. Subscribe if you're new. Thank you for watching. And as always, God bless.